Welcome to D2 Global News. In a dramatic turn of events in the prolonged Russia-Ukraine conflict, Kyiv has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. Not as a result of strategic advantage, but due to the harsh realities of dependency, military vulnerability, and relentless pressure from its closest ally, the United States. This is not a triumphant moment for peace, rather, it is an acknowledgement of the profound shift in the war's dynamics. A shift that has pushed Ukraine to the brink of concession. For months, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has projected an unwavering stance, rejecting any notion of territorial compromise or submission to Moscow's demands. However, this determination stands in stark contrast to the uncomfortable truth about Ukraine's lifeline, a massive influx of aid from Washington and, to a lesser extent, from European allies. While European nations collectively contribute significantly, the undeniable pillar of Ukraine's war effort remains the United States. Since Russia's expanded invasion in February 2022, the U.S. has committed an astounding $66.5 billion in military aid to Ukraine. According to the U.S. State Department, this figure is more than just a statistic. It represents the very foundation sustaining Kyiv's defense efforts. Beyond sheer financial scale, this aid includes strategically vital technologies. Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet service, has become, as the Washington Post aptly described it, the lifeblood of Ukraine's communications infrastructure. It provides invaluable military communication channels, powers drone operations, and ensures connectivity on a battlefield where traditional infrastructure has been reduced to rubble. To ignore this dependency would be self-deception. As some observers bluntly put it, Ukraine risks becoming America's foster child, a stark illustration of the unequal power dynamics at play. This imbalance came into sharp focus in February 2025 when a temporary freeze on U.S. aid following the tense standoff between President Zelensky and a demanding President Trump sent shockwaves through Kyiv, serving as a brutal reminder of Ukraine's precarious position. This vulnerability is not lost on Kyiv. Its acceptance of a ceasefire is not a voluntary step toward peace but rather a reaction to Washington's pressure. An agonizing choice between an uneasy peace and the looming prospect of collapse should fighting continue without consistent, robust external support. The battlefield situation offers little comfort to Ukraine. Russia currently controls about 1/5 of Ukraine's territory, including Crimea and strategically crucial regions such as Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. According to the Washington Post, Moscow's troop deployments overwhelmingly outmatch Ukraine's, with estimates suggesting around 620,000 Russian personnel employing what the BBC describes as a superiority. In numbers, strategy grinding forward inch by inch in a brutal war of attrition in the Donbass. Despite Ukraine's adept use of drone technology and innovative asymmetric tactics, it remains heavily outgunned. The fall of key towns like Kharkov and the looming threat of an advance toward the critical hub of Pokrovsk paint a grim picture of an overstretched and increasingly vulnerable army, as frontline BBC reports have vividly documented. Thus, a 30-day ceasefire presents a crucial window. It is a desperately needed pause to regroup exhausted forces, replenish dwindling supplies, and prevent further manpower depletion. More importantly, it offers a fleeting opportunity to negotiate from a position slightly less vulnerable than outright collapse. All. Real possibility if hostilities continue without adequate external backing. President Zelensky's previous resistance to ceasefire proposals was rooted in a well-founded fear that Moscow would simply use the lull in fighting to rearm and recalibrate, a concern analysts at the Brookings Institution have underscored. However, the public spat with President Trump in February 2025 proved to be a decisive turning point. NBC News detailed the tense Oval Office meeting, where Trump, joined by Vice President Vance, reportedly chastised Zelensky as ungrateful and reckless, even accusing him of playing chicken with World War III, a stark reminder of Ukraine's reliance on Washington. Zelensky's subsequent statements about Ukraine's willingness to engage in peace talks, widely reported by CNN and other outlets, should not be mistaken for a change of heart. Rather, they reflect a necessary recalibration in response to strategic and financial realities. He understands the inescapable equation: without U.S. support, continued resistance against Russia is not just unsustainable. It could be catastrophic. Accepting a ceasefire is a calculated move toward a peace that remains elusive. However, the negotiating landscape is deeply skewed in Moscow's favor. Russia's publicly stated maximalist demands official recognition of Crimea and the annexed eastern regions as sovereign Russian territory, a binding commitment from Ukraine to abandon its NATO ambitions, and an end to Western military aid. As Al Jazeera points out, unacceptable for Kyiv and many of its allies. President Putin himself reiterated these uncompromising terms in a March 2025 press conference, signaling Russia's intention to dictate rather than compromise. Yet, even a precarious ceasefire under unfavorable terms may provide Ukraine with a crucial breathing space. It is a gamble to hope that a temporary pause in hostilities will at least prevent further territorial losses and buy precious, albeit limited, time to seek a more sustainable diplomatic solution. Moscow's insistence on strict ceasefire monitoring mechanisms, as PBS News has detailed, with immediate punitive measures for any violations, further underscores Russia's dominant position and skepticism over Ukraine's adherence to any agreed-upon truce. The looming question remains: what happens when the 30-day ceasefire expires? As NPR reports, the ceasefire plan includes security guarantees purportedly backed by the US and a European military coalition. But Moscow's genuine willingness to de-escalate remains highly uncertain. Without tangible and substantial concessions from Kyiv, concessions that would inevitably involve territorial losses and a fundamental shift in its geopolitical alignment. It is difficult to envision a lasting peace emerging from this temporary halt in fighting. Ukraine finds itself backed into a corner, facing a series of painful choices, territorial concessions that, in effect, amount to relinquishing sovereignty in exchange for a fragile respite from conflict, or continuing a war of attrition that it is increasingly less capable of winning without a fundamental shift in the balance of power. The latter, in the absence of a miraculous surge in Western support, a scenario unlikely in the current political climate, only guarantees further losses, devastation, and a deepening crisis for a nation already scarred by war. This 30-day ceasefire is not the dawn of peace, it is a cold, pragmatic calculation in a war that Ukraine is increasingly being forced to play as a game of desperation. Thank you for watching. What are your thoughts on this? Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Until next time, take care.